What's going on, everyone? It's Chris, and welcome back to once again another episode of Madden Maniac Previews. How's everyone doing today? We are going to be talking about the Dolphins and the Packers in today's episode, and it works out perfectly because I believe, I guess the Packers played yesterday, but the Dolphins play today, so that kind of coincides with it all. Now, as I'm recording this, it is Thursday, so if anything major happens with the Packers on Friday, I then disregard some of my analysis. And of course, the Dolphins, the same thing, but it'll come out before the game at least. But anyways, guys, let's get right into this stuff right here. Now, this is actually a matchup that will be played out in the regular season. The Dolphins are going to be heading to Green Bay at some point. I want to say it's later in the season, not like early. I can double check that. But we'll see how that all goes. Let's make it a primetime game. Why not? It's Packers. And yeah, let's go. Let's make it. Let's do it. So, I mean, we're going to be starting right away with the Miami Dolphins. But of course, I want to wait till it kicks off. So that way, give equal time to everything. Miami Dolphins, Packers. Interesting. I always find this matchup a very interesting uniform matchup. Just the light blue against the green and yellow. Like, it's a very, very interesting combination. But specifically the Dolphins blue, not like the Lions light blue. But alright, let's talk about the Dolphins then. Because the biggest news, I think, of the offseason for the Miami Dolphins is the return of Ryan Tannehill. Now, he returns after 2016, where he was actually having a pretty decent season, but then got injured. Matt Moore stepped in. He played for a little bit. Then, all of a sudden, because they decided not to give Ryan Tannehill off-season surgery, they thought that he could just play. Well, then he gets injured early in August, and then that's when Jay Cutler happens. Never go full Jay Cutler. I think that's what we learned from last year. But he returns, and I think the biggest question right now is, what is Ryan Tannehill worth to this team at the moment, and what has he proven himself to be a franchise quarterback at this point? Right now, they're going with him, but one more bad year of him, or especially one more year of uncertainty when it comes to Tannehill, and I don't know if the Dolphins are gonna want to keep him around. I think I agreed with their decision not to draft a quarterback. I thought that you did want to at least see Ryan Tannehill one more time, but how much longer beyond that are they going to keep him around? I think that if he does play well this year, then great. But if he doesn't play well, then you do have to consider drafting a quarterback or picking one up via trade or whatever. But this is, I think, Ryan Tannehill's last stand. I think who's more at risk of being fired, Tannehill or Gase? I think it's going to be Tannehill, but that's a close race, because then let's go to Adam Gase, who is entering his third season coaching this team, and of course in 2016, they had a very interesting run. They weren't that great of a team, but they were good enough where they were winning the games that mattered, and it got them to the playoffs as a 6th seed. They ended up losing against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But then last year was kind of a fire. Was a little scary how bad the team was, in considering where they were at the playoffs, and I think that their rival Bills might have to face the same fate as well. But if this year they're not better, because in the eyes of Gase, he thinks this team is better, I don't know. I think that might be cause for him being fired as well. And that would be surprising, considering how much hype this guy got as a head coaching prospect, that they would be giving up on him after 3 seasons. Part of his philosophy, and part of Mike Tannenbaum and all the guys that are in charge of this organization, their theory for this offseason was get rid of the toxic players. So they got rid of Landry. I guess just because they really didn't think they could rely on him. Um, Going forward, at least in terms of keeping the locker room afloat. I'm a little confused about the whole culture change thing that they kind of try to implement, but whatever. They also got rid of Dinamo Kansu. And he's also now he got traded, or not, he didn't get traded away, but he got released and sent to the Rams, I think. I don't know. Either way, he's no longer with the team. They got rid of him, and now there's a gaping hole in that defensive line. And I feel like the wide receiving core is not good anymore without Landry, and the defensive line's not as good without Sue. How bad were these guys that they had to be sent away? Is my question. I guess I don't know. Maybe they were just. Whenever I think about the toxic culture about stuff, like, you can tell when something is toxic. Everyone shitting on Ben McAdoo last year. Yeah, that was a toxic locker room because no one trusted the head coach, and when you don't trust the guy in charge, you can't really function as a team. But I think it's different when it's players that are just maybe more. But I don't know. You just did not see that as much with the Dolphins. Maybe they did question him, but not to that far of an extent, or at least not publicly. I don't think that either of those guys deserve to be cut for this team, and I think they were really important. It's like they got rid of Giagiai too. Why? There was no reason to do so, but they did, and they got a draft pick out of it. But they sent him away to the Eagles, where he won a fucking Super Bowl. So I mean, I'm sure he's happy. I don't know. There's just seems some like unhappy faces in Miami that they were like, all right, well, I guess we're just gonna send these guys away. But something tells me they're not doing a good enough job at the moment with their coaching. Because if all these players are unhappy, then I mean, I don't know what's wrong. So that's the situation when it comes to Adam Gase. I have no idea what his future is and what he's gonna he's gonna have to have a pretty solid year, and I'm worried about that as if I am a Dolphins fan. I would be very concerned about that. Now look at the running game as it is right now. Now you do not have Giagiai. But you're going to see, especially in tonight's game, if you're watching this on the day it's uploaded, that Frank Gore is going to make his debut. And Frank Gore is, of course, a potential future Hall of Famer, a guy who had an outstanding career, but in recent times has kind of slowed down. But he's going to be splitting carries with Kenyon Drake, who has shown that he can be a starting running back at times, but there is some hesitancy in terms of giving him the starting job, apparently. And I think that they're going to be splitting carries, and that's not going to really end up succeeding. I think that they might realize that maybe Kenyon Drake might be the better one to start at the moment. But then I think that even deeper, they may start to regret not keeping Jay around, because I think that he would have been. I think he's one of the main reasons that they made it to the playoffs in 2016. Like, to me that move was absurd when that happened, and I'm still questioning it. And you go on to the wide receiver core. You got now we don't have Jarvis Landry anymore, but you do have Isaiah Ford is moved up the depth chart. So I liked him a lot. And you like Kenny Stills, you like Devontae Parker. But and Daniel Amendola, obviously, like, from his time as you know, in the Patriots locker room, you know, he has shown success because of the fact he was on the Patriots team. But the fact of the matter is, with Amendola, is that a lot of his success was because of the postseason. The regular season, he has a tendency to go quiet, and I think that's why the Patriots were okay with finally letting him go, because while he contributes a lot when it matters, like, quote unquote, when it matters, There's times where they would want to rely on him in bigger moments that are not playoffs, and they can't. And so that's a concern. And then they have Albert Wilson, who is also going up the depth chart. I pointed out Isaiah Ford because I remember watching him when he was at Virginia Tech, and I thought that was an excellent pick for the Dolphins at the time, really a steal. And I think that he should be considered a starter at some point. But that's just my theory. I feel like the first guy that Ford has to go over is Wilson, and Wilson's having a pretty okay camp. He's doing enough where he will end up getting quite a few targets this upcoming season. But I don't know right now what this team is doing when it comes to wide receiver, because they literally just took a bunch of third wide receivers and collected them onto one team. And Kenny Stills is, I think, the only guy that you could say for certain right now that you can rely on. Because Devontae Parker even has not proven himself to be the first-round draft pick that he was touted to be. And let me actually, hold on a second, just realize that you haven't been hearing game audio. No, fix that right now. And that's a concern. And that, I think there is a legit, there's a lot riding on what this offense is going to do this year, because Adam Gase is this offensive mastermind in these people's way, in these people's eyes, at least, the eyes of the Dolphins organization. And the offensive line is not even that great right now, because Laramie Tunsil still needs to make a leap. Jawan James, who's listed as a starter here, is a potential cut candidate later next week. And Josh Sitton, who I think had some success when he was with the Packers, then he went to Chicago and didn't really perform to the best of his ability. He had maybe his first season there was good, the next season wasn't as great, and I think part of that was injuries as well. I don't know if you can rely on anything on this offense, and I think that's why I'm so pessimistic about this team, because there's so many question marks where you would think that they have something solid at any one position, and it's just not. There's so much that's just so up in the air. Maybe it's the method to the madness. Maybe this actually will end up working out. But right now, I'm looking at this group, and it's just not a talented group on any position right now. The defense is a little bit better. As I said earlier, I think the defensive line is kind of the defensive tackle specifically. I think that there's lackings of depth there. Even if Sue ended up staying on the team. But the defensive ends, it's not that bad a group, because you got Cameron Wake, William Hayes as his backup, and then Robert Quinn with Charles Harris, who is last year's first-round pick, as his backup right now. First of all, I don't know why Charles Harris is still a backup. At this point, he should be the starter if he's a first-round draft pick, but alright, regardless, it doesn't matter. But that's not a bad defensive line group, especially Cameron Wake, who still is having a great career even as his age goes up, and the linebacking group, not bad. Raekwon McMillan is now back and he's healthy. Kiko Alonso is, of course, I think a very good player, even though he's been traded around. Stephon Anthony, I think he needs another big year. And he has yet to super duper prove himself to be the first round draft pick of this that he was traded away from the Saints because they didn't think that he could get there. I think part of that was also health issues. So he's the starter right now, so there you go. And then in the secondary, Rashad Jones, there's a lot of hope on it because of him. And TJ McDonald was a lot of fun when he was on the Rams. Some of the plays that he would make with that team, and the star of the preseason has been Xavier Howard. He's been kicking ass whenever he is out on the field, and so if there's anything that this Dolphins team is going to do in order to win games, I don't know why the game just went black, but I guess I don't know what's happening. Um, but if this defense can do things, it seems like they can. They do have a lot more depth than you know usual. Uh, than what you would really expect out of this Dolphins team. But that's to me is going to be what is going to drive this team's success. Is going to be how well their defense plays. Because right now in offense, there's just too many question marks. But again, the first year of Ryan Tannehill and Adam Gase was a success, and despite the injury, it was a success. But again, that was with Landry and that was with Ajayi. You now have both of those guys gone. So are any of these guys going to end up being major playmakers? I mean, going back real quick onto that offense, the tight end I kind of looked over. I don't see why Mike Gesicki couldn't be a factor down the line. I mean, he's not for some reason he's listed very deep on the depth chart, but he should be considered a starter. I think that he is a very good player, and I think that he is he's going to be a huge factor for the offense moving forward. But he needs to be used. I don't think you could just rely on these kind of third string wide receivers that you have around you. And so that's going to be a factor moving forward as well. So, yeah, I'm again, the AFC East to me, there's a lot that needs to go down for this team or any of the three teams to beat the Patriots this year. But because of the lack of talent on all three of the teams, I think there's a huge question as to whether any of them are going to have a winning record at this point. But the Dolphins, there should be hope there because of what they have on the defensive side of the ball, and especially in that secondary. Again, Rashad Jones has proven to be a great safety in this league, and Xavier Howard is proven that he is a playmaker through and through. And so I'm excited to see how that goes, very much so. Sorry, I need to do something real quick. I think about yeah, touchdown return, kick, or is that a kickoff return, or what the hell is that? Or maybe it was just a I don't know. It was a long run for a touchdown. Very nice. Very nice job, Dolphins, Madden. I don't know. I'm looking. I'm trying to think of other things to discuss here when it comes to the Dolphins team as a whole. I think that one of my theories this upcoming season is that if the Dolphins and Ryan Tannehill don't work out, that we could see them trade for a veteran quarterback that's maybe on his way out with his other team because of like a rookie quarterback or whatever. And my theory when I say that is that they could have maybe Tyrod Taylor. They could have Joe Flacco if he has an incredible season. I mean, he's going to have a really good season. And they're going to have to think that Lamar Jackson is going to be going to be their starter next year. I don't know. There's a lot to think about in terms of their options, because I as far as it is concerned at the moment, I mean, maybe they'll have a high draft pick, but the quarterback class for this upcoming year is not going to be seen as deep as this past one was. This was the year of the quarterback, and next year is just not. But I'm sure you're gonna have 2 or 3 studs in the mix that are gonna be like first round, maybe second round guys. So you never know. You never know what options are gonna be there. It seems like Dolphins fans, at least what I have seen on social media and just the overall reaction to people's criticism of Tannehill at the moment, which is not even criticism, more so just pointing out, like, hey, it's been a while since we've seen this guy on the field. Are we sure that this guy is still the franchise guy? A lot of the criticism that has gone his way and going towards the Dolphins' way A lot of fans have been upset about that, and they feel like he should be given more credit for what he has done, and that's fair. But this is again, if this is the year to prove that you can, even with not amazing weapons around you, this is your year to say like, hey, you did make the right choice to go with me and to stick with me. This is your opportunity right now to say, I am the Dolphins franchise quarterback, and while they have a tough schedule overall, I don't see why they could not at least try to prove that. Again, you have a guy that is seen by many as a great offensive mind in the league. Why not? Why not prove that you have that ability? And why not? Like, I don't know. Why couldn't this duo succeed if Ryan Tannehill is 2016 Ryan Tannehill again? We have to see. He was not a top 5 quarterback. I don't think that he was anywhere close to that. I think that he has a lot of growing to do still as a quarterback, into getting into that top 10 conversation. But he played well, and he played well enough that it got the team to the playoffs. So there's a lot that has to go their way, obviously, but there is a whole bunch left to prove for him, and this is the year to do it. And they opened up against the Titans, which is a tough matchup, but I think that they have that if they can make a statement week 1 and be like and win that game, that's gonna be big moving forward. I can let me pull up the schedule, because I keep on forgetting that should always be part of this conversation. Schedule. So yeah, they opened up against Tennessee, and then they go to the Jets, which I think is definitely a winnable game. They go to the Raiders, which again, the Raiders are such an anomaly right now that the Dolphins could absolutely win this game. Then you have the Bengals, which I don't have a lot of faith in the Bengals, so that could be successful. The Bears, I think the Bears are really good this year, so I think that's gonna be tough, but it wouldn't be shocking to see them beat the Bears, considering the Bears have been a last place team for quite a few years. The Lions, I'm not very high on the Lions. Some other people are. This is a sneaky year for the Lions. But again, they have a history of falling teams like the Dolphins, so that could go their way. The Texans, high ceiling, low floor for them. I think the Dolphins could beat them. The Jets again. The Packers, no. I'm gonna say no to that. I'm gonna say no to them being the Packers. Obviously they're doing so right now at Madden, but that doesn't mean shit. The Colts. I think the Dolphins could beat the Colts. They could beat the Bills. The Patriots, no. Well, I don't know, because last year the Dolphins were a bad team, but they beat the Patriots in Monday Night Football. That was, of course, without Rob Gronkowski, but the team has shown that they can win without Rob Gronkowski. Fucking, let's show them Super Bowl, this 2016 season. The Patriots have shown that they can win without Gronk, and they lost that game against the Dolphins, so I don't fucking know what's happening there. They have the Vikings. No, the Dolphins are not winning that. The Jaguars, I'm gonna say no to that. And then the Bills again. They have a shot. I'm looking at this now, and I'm like, they have a shot. They're not. It's not. A lot of things has to go their way though. But they have things can be interesting, and they have a lot of tough defenses that they're playing. But if they can at least skewer a few of those good defenses, then Ryan Tannehill and Adam Gase immediately proved to ownership that, hey, you can keep us around, and that's going to be, we're growing something here. These things are actually working out for us. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes with them. I think the biggest there's a lot like a lot of the teams that I'm like, I don't know. They have to. It has to be that these teams are falling below expectations at this point. A lot of them. But it's the AFC East as a whole. They have to face the AFC North and the AFC South, which are two of the toughest divisions right now. That's part of the reason why there's so many people that are kind of low on the AFC East, because it's like, well, you look at this talented team of the Patriots, and you kind of like what they're doing right now over the other three teams. The other three teams are having to face four good teams in the AFC North and potentially four good teams out of the AFC South. That's a difficult hill to climb. So, that's just how it goes. So, yeah. I am rooting for the Dolphins. I'm hoping that they succeed. Also, they have they changed their orange on the Dolphins uniform to an orange I very much like, so I'm looking forward to that. It's the third quarter. Shit. Who will make it to the playoffs? Packers. And let's talk about that. Packers are definitely more likely to make the playoffs. Let's talk about Green Bay, because you have to start things off. You're getting the return of Aaron Rodgers, and that's obvious. We know Aaron Rodgers is my favorite quarterback in the league. He is accurate and clutch as all hell. We can talk all day about him, but I think we all know what Aaron Rodgers brings to the Packers and his importance to the team. So there you go. And then you have the wide receiver situation's interesting this year because of the fact that Jordy Nelson is no longer there. He's going to the Raiders. Packers got rid of him because of a few rough seasons, and Aaron Rodgers is not fucking happy about that. He made it very clear to them that he was not happy about losing his favorite target. But I kind of understood why the Packers did that, because again, Jordy Nelson hasn't been the Pro Bowler that we've seen in the past, and so I think that it was okay to move on from him. Their top wide receiver going into the season, though, is going to be Davante Adams, and he's been sneaky good. I think that there is a high ceiling for him, but I am a little skeptical because a lot of the hype around him revolves around one season with him being the number one wide receiver and being a playmaker. I still am a little cautious about that, and I think that I would like to see one more solid year out of him before I can be like, yeah, this guy's going to be reliable. I'm not too sure about that. We'll see. But you have Randall Cobb still, who's apparently being considered a trade bait right now. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means that they want to get rid of him come cut down day, or if there's something else. Like if there's something else that's wrong with him that they're kind of looking to get rid of him. I don't know. Or they're just doing their due diligence. He's in a contract year. Who knows? I think he could be a trade deadline candidate. I don't know about if he'll be traded right out of the gate. You mean I don't know. You have a reliable second stringer in Geronimo Allison that could play well. You never know. Oh my god, I'm like talking and I'm getting stuffed again. I'm so sorry, guys. So sorry. Hold on. But yeah, I think Geronimo Allison, I loved watching him last year with the team, but I loved watching him mostly with Illinois when he was in college. I watched a lot of Illinois games because of my good friend. My good friend was part of that university, and he was such a playmaker, and he was able to get loose and run all the way down the field. He was super fast, and he had some early struggles last year, but I think that he could adjust and be reliable moving forward. He could end up being a wide receiver too to Davante Adams if, let's say, they trade Randall Cobb. So I don't know, it's an option, but I hope that they don't do that right away. I hope they can see what their options are and see how the season plays out. So that would be my hope for the Green Bay Packers. Um, and then there's the running back situation. Jamal Williams is going to be the starter out of the gate because Aaron Jones is fucking suspended. And Ty Montgomery is going to be kind of... I think he's going to be more of a catchback at this point because he was a wide receiver, then became a running back. And I think he's kind of going back to wide receiver now. I mean, I think that's how it's kind of going right now. And Jamal Williams, he had a solid stretch down over the course of the end of the season. And I think that it was kind of like a mix, like, oh, Aaron Jones, he's having a few good games. Oh, Jamal Williams, he's having a few good games. So it's not like they have a horrible running back situation. If Jamal Williams takes the starting job, I think he could run away with it. I think because of Aaron Jones' suspension, and I think that's going to be a factor. So, I think that I think this is one of their better running back situations that they've had in recent years. Do I think that Jamal Williams has some things left to prove? Yes. I think that Jones also has some things left to prove. So we'll just see how that all plays out for them. And then there is the addition of Mr. Jimmy Graham on the field or in Green Bay for the first time. And this is, I think, an excellent addition of them. I think that he's fallen off in recent years. He's not like the unstoppable playmaker that he used to be with the New Orleans Saints, and he had a good season with Seattle, maybe one or two good seasons with them, but he overall, I think there is still a lot left to be desired from him. And now that he's in this new place, and I think that he's going to be used as Aaron Rodgers' favorite target moving forward. And so I really like this addition. I'm really hoping that he's going to be a factor moving forward, because I when he's good, he's fun. He's just a guy that will take down anyone as he's running and just completely dominate. And I really, really, really want to see him succeed with Green Bay. That would be fun. So that is Jimmy Graham, and they have a kind of deep tight end class right now. Lance Kendricks is there. Mercedes Lewis is there, who longtime Jacksonville Jaguar. So we'll see. But the big thing is going to be the offensive line and how reliable the offensive line is going to be, because there's a lot of guys that are dealing with injuries still. David Bakatari, is that how you pronounce his name? He's the franchise left tackle. You need to hope that he stays healthy. Brian Bulaga has constantly been dealing with injury issues. You want him to stay healthy. And you have a few guys in the middle right now that you're not too sure that they're going to be able to hold up. So that's offensive line is going to be concerned, but you need at least those two guys to be healthy as the longtime veterans, and you need the middle of the line to hold up and stay healthy as well, and actually play well. That's and now to protect Aaron Rodgers in the long term. That's going to be the big thing. So I think that's offensive line is the concern for the Packers right now on that side of the ball. So that's that. And now let's talk about the defense, because the defensive line gets a little bit of a change with the addition of Muhammad Wilkerson. Someone who watched the Jets a lot last year, I can tell you right now that it was really disappointing to see how Muhammad Wilkerson essentially gave up on his team. I think that it might be different this time, that he might play better because he's on a team that is new and not the Jets. But I would be skeptical, because I don't know how much of that was him just not wanting to play with the team anymore, or how much of that was him actually not playing well anymore. I don't know. What he did play well for the Jets, he was a monster, and that's why he got the monster contract with the Jets. But that's still we don't know what's happening on that front. So I would say that he's going to be the starter, and if he can play to that monster ability, watch out, because you have Mike Daniels on the other side, who is always a good player. He's always going to be a reliable defensive end. So yeah, that's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to Mike Daniels in the mix there. And then you have Kenny Clark, who is a first-round draft pick that we're not too sure about him. I think he still needs time to grow. So on the linebacking core, you did unfortunately lose. You lost an important player on that linebacking core, and of course I forget his name because I am just drawing a blank right now. But they did end up losing an important player on that team earlier on this off season, and so it's going to be a little bit thinner there. And Clay Matthews is not the playmaker that he used to be for this team either, and I would be very concerned about that. Fucking, what's the guy's name that fucking got injured for the Packers? Like everyone was talking about, oh yeah, shit, how it was awful, and linebacker injury. I had to Google this shit. Jake Ryan, that's it. Why the fuck is that not? Why is his name like not listed anywhere on like the Packers like roster or IR or anything? There's like nothing listed here. Regardless, whatever. Anyways, so Jake Ryan's fucking injured, and so everything sucks for them on the linebacking core. And you have Nick Perry and Blake Martinez. You guys, you have like some of these younger guys that haven't proved to be starters, but they're hoping that their development has gotten to the point where they could be starters. That linebacking core, I think, is the biggest concern for the Packers. It used to be the secondary, it's now the linebacking core, because I don't even think you can rely on Clay Matthews at this point. So what happens in the middle of that defense is going to be something to watch this regular season. And then in the secondary, I think this is the deepest this secondary has been in a while. And I think that starts with the addition, obviously, of Jair Alexander, who's right now a backup, but I think that he will probably be elevated to starting quarterback probably soon. You have Tremont Williams returning with the team, which I think he's right. It's good that they put him as a starter because they know him, they know how he plays, and regardless of his kind of journeyman status, he's relatively, he still plays relatively well on the team, and and you have Kevin King, who was their highest draft pick last year, also starting at quarterback. He needs to have a solid year, so we don't know too much about him. Devin House as well is also there. Josh Jackson, I would also make an argument that he should be in the mix to start at quarterback, but he's kind of deep on the depth chart right now, so that's probably not going to happen. Clinton Dix is going to be your starter, probably your star of the secondary again. He always is. He's one of the main playmakers in that defense. A lot of fun to watch. And right now, Kendall Bryce is starting opposite Clinton Dix, but I would put in Josh Jones from NC State. I think that you want to get these guys out on the field, these higher draft picks. Jones was a potential first-round draft pick. I would love to see how he does out on the field, and so I think that they should consider him, put him out there, maybe have him and Jair Alexander maybe start. I could see where Kevin King, they might want to have him start for now, and Tremont Williams start, and have Jair Alexander back up Williams, because Williams, the veteran, is about to go out, and King's still young. He's 1 year in. I can understand that. Kendall Bryce, I don't know enough about him where I'm like, oh yeah, shit, man, fucking start his ass. Where I think Josh Jones, I remember watching him at NC State and thinking that he should be, he should be a high draft pick, and he should start right away or as soon as possible. He's right now the backup, but that should change. And I think that overall that's a pretty good group for this team. So there's a lot of questions right now, and I'm curious as to see how it all plays out. But I think that the two, the main focus of this defense is going to be the defensive line playing very well, and I think that the secondary, albeit questionable starters at the moment, I think that group is deep, and that they'll find their way as the season progresses. And I guess the question marks really for both sides of the ball are going to be the linebacking and the offensive line. What will happen with either of those, I'm not too sure. Let's talk about the season as it plays out for them. Let's go Packers schedule. I could actually probably do it from right here. There you go. So you start out against the Bears and then the Vikings. So that's two kind of difficult games right off the bat. And I think the Packers have had the edge on for quite some time. And it probably will end up being the same. But I think that the Bears are on the rise, and the Packers got a little bit better, but not anything outstanding this offseason, again, maybe with the exception of Jimmy Graham. So that I think that's going to be a contest. Let's just give it to the Packers for the sake of this schedule for now. I think the Vikings are going to be a very tough out for the Packers. I think it would be very difficult to beat them. Regardless of it being at home, I think that they have a tough road to face when it comes to the Vikings. So I'm going to say that they don't win that matchup. The Redskins, they should win that. I think the Packers are good enough to beat them. I think they're good enough to beat the Bills. I think they can beat the Lions as well, because it's like, people are sleeping on the Lions. I don't know if I'm very confident about the Lions, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I know that Matt Patricia's the coach and shit, but we'll see. The Lions are going to be in the conversation very soon. I'll get into breaking down that team in a little bit. Then they have the Niners, who I think they can beat. I don't see why they couldn't. The Rams are going to be very difficult for the Packers to beat, so I'm going to hold off on that. The Patriots, right? Wow, they have the Rams and the Patriots on the road back to back. Oh, that's a tough stretch right there. I mean, that's luckily coming off of your bye, but Jesus fucking Christ. I think that could be 2 losses right there. I mean, that maybe things could work out. And it's fucking Aaron Rodgers is your guy, so, you know, it could end up working. I don't know, but ugh, that's rough. The Dolphins, I think you could beat them. The Seahawks, yeah, I think you could beat them. Then you have the Vikings. Then you're at their place. I don't know. Maybe you'll split the series. You win one of them. The Cardinals you can easily beat. I think the Falcons are going to be tough to beat. You're at your home during that game. I don't know, man. It's a tough schedule. You have the Bears again. The Jets you should be able to beat, and then you have the Lions. There's definitely a steep climb for this team still, and a lot needs to go. I think though that this team is better talent wise, than they were last year, and I think that with Rodgers in the mix, whenever you have Aaron Rodgers, you don't sleep on the Packers. I think this team can win the Super Bowl. I think this team can absolutely dominate games, regardless of how, regardless of the question marks that exist. As long as Aaron Rodgers is healthy, that if he's not, then there's obvious questions there. I think the next part of this that I want to talk about is Mike McCarthy, because I think that this is the last year for Mike McCarthy if he does not make a big run to the playoffs and the Super Bowl, because I think there's been way too many seasons where he's been left off the hook because of the fact that they've constantly made the playoffs. But they've been, now you're in a season where the team is I don't know, where the team is is relying on one guy to get everything done, and he's not being held accountable for the fact that, maybe the success of this team is because of Rodgers and not so much him. And you kind of saw last year where Brett Hundley comes in and it didn't end up working out for them, regardless. And so, if I'm Mike McCarthy, I would be coaching for my fucking job. I would be hoping, praying that everything works out for me, that everything goes up my way, that we win so many freaking games, that we can make it to the NFC Championship game, maybe make it to the Super Bowl, because you need to prove that you are the answer moving forward, because if you're not, you're next, bud, and you leave, and there's going to be one more head coach for Aaron Rodgers probably after that. One last chance for success. And that has to be a big name, probably for Green Bay. So I don't know. Mike McCarthy is coaching for his job, and I think because if you have back-to-back seasons when you're not making the playoffs, then there's problems there, regardless of how long you've been around, and and you've won one Super Bowl, great, but there's going to be questions starting to build there, because there's been people have been questioning his coaching for a while now. So I don't know. That's just, I think that's where the Packers need to really be worried about. They need to worry about being successful this year, especially if they are looking to keep Mike McCarthy around. So we'll see. All right. Oh, deep ball down the field, incomplete. And we're 43 seconds away. In terms of this matchup, I already have the Packers running in. Obviously, a lot can change because it's deep in the season. Again, I think that the way the success for the Dolphins is going to be their defense, and they have an advantage a little bit because the Packers' offensive line is not that great. But they had to play against Aaron Rodgers. But luckily, Aaron Rodgers is facing a secondary that's going to be very difficult. So, luckily for the Dolphins. But as for the Packers, it shouldn't be as difficult to go after the Dolphins because that offensive line is easy to get through, and the lack of talent on the Dolphins' offense is going to be tough. So it makes it easier for a defense that is lacking, some strength at linebacker and potentially in the secondary. Again, I think it's better, but whatever. That all that needs to be a consideration. all of that needs to be that will be analyzed and stripped down and all that. And again, anything can change. We'll see injuries happen. We'll see new players join these teams that might play an impact on their season and all that jazz. We'll see how it all plays out. It would be interesting if it was a primetime game. I don't think it would. It's not, though. I believe it's a 1 p.m. game. I think at last time these two teams played each other, it was actually a pretty exciting game. So you never know. Okay, you could see some excitement here. Some pizzazz. You never know. Is that a touchdown? Oh, no, it's against the offense flag. All right. Wait, so it is still 1st and 10? That doesn't make any sense. All right, whatever. Yeah, but last year was fun, and I loved last year in terms of its chaos, but I missed having Rodgers there, and it made it not as fun. And having Jay Cutler starting for the Dolphins was also not as fun. I thought because Jay Cutler had that one really good year with Adam Gase that was going to be a successful story. That ended up not being the case. I wanted to see the Dolphins of 2016 in 2017, and it just never came back. So these are two teams. There's your comparison for this episode two teams getting their starting quarterbacks back, and they could be kind of they may have a chance of being exciting. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But again, I think that I don't really prep too much in terms of analyzing. I don't do a lot of this ahead of time, like the planning of these episodes. I usually try to do it at the whim. But I think as I went through the Dolphins roster, I got kind of convinced at the end, like, oh, well, you know what? The Dolphins are not as bad off as I thought they were. I think that's going to be the same thing. I think that was kind of the same thing with the Jets. I was like, oh, well, I guess the roster isn't too bad, at least on paper. Again, we have to see how it all plays out when it comes to the fall, but it's all right, not bad. I think when the Bills happen, I'm gonna absolutely trash them. I'm so sorry, Buffalo. I'm just saying ahead of time. I'm prepping ahead of time that it is gonna be a dumpster fire. But don't worry, I will also have some criticism for the Patriots as well. I'm not gonna just praise them up and down, but right now I think the Patriots still have a very, very significant edge on this division, and if they don't win, I'll eat my own shoe. If they don't win the division, I'll eat my own shoe. I hope that no one listens to that and writes that down, because I really would not like to eat my own shoe. But that's the statement I'm putting out there right now. Anyway, all right, that's the end of this episode of this game. So let's see these two teams returning quarterbacks. One obviously that's legendary, one that is on the hot seat and hopefully can succeed at some point. Let's see how these guys do for the upcoming 2018 season. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. Be good to one another, be kind to one another, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.